Other great thing that is great to have is fenders. They'll keep your legs dry. First year when I was like riding around the winter in Toronto, like I had like a skinny one that was like looked really cool, but didn't do anything. So my feet were constantly wet because of the spray. But
Yeah.
like if you can fit like the big fenders on your bike, they'll like save you from a lot of water.
Yeah, a lot of ice up your bum, which is uncomfortable. So it's important to have bright lights. You know, a lot of people question, do you want to spend a lot of money on lights? Because they tend to be very stealable. I think it's still important to have a decent pair of lights. What I do is I know if I'm in an area that they're likely to be stolen, I will just take them off my bike and bring them with me and then put them back on. Because being visible is the most important thing. And so, you know, I used to buy cheap lights, but then I still had a lot of very close calls, you know, at night. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I know for me, like, if my battery dies, I'm just gonna go home. I'm not gonna like risk my life, like being a ninja on a bike in dark. Chances are like there are stupid drivers on the road who like you can like have all the lights in the world on your bike and they're still gonna not see you and hit you. Mm-hmm. But like they do protect you. And well, yeah, as you said, like it gets dark like at 4 now. Yeah. When it comes to lights, these are the ones that I really like. I don't have them yet, but they're like you put them on your side and they're like you become visible on the side because a lot of in my dream.
Yes. His dream has become a light.
Like a lot of cyclist car collisions are like from the side, and this makes you more visible. I wish they were like blinkers, like I'm going like to the left,
Sorry.
I'm going to the right, but they're not.
Yeah, we had a question.
Oh, do you put them on your wheel? Where do you put them on?
You can put these anywhere. On their website, they come on the side of the fork.
Yeah, there's these ones as well, which are pretty crazy because they're like 330 degrees. So yeah,
They're pretty bright, so we won't.
They're very bright. They're like the person that you don't like to be behind, bright. But I mean, it'll be used, so you won't be affected, and also you'll be safe. Yeah. So this gives you, it gives you again the side view so that someone can see you more easily, and it becomes important the more that you're out at night.
There's also a spray that's a super reflective spray that washes off that you can like buy. It costs like $20 and you can like spray all of your clothes with it.
So we had a kind of a debate about winter tires and if they're effective and if they're important. I don't use them, but I have also fallen many times. So in talking to Ivan and to Drago, we actually, you know, they use winter tires and they've said that it's actually really effective to, you know, prevent yourself from falling down. When it gets really icy out there, especially when you have a snowstorm like there was the last 2 days, you can't see, you know, ice patches, you can't see metal, so like the rails of the streetcar tracks are hard to see. And having that extra grip, you know, when there's all those slippery surfaces, I think can make a big difference. I just was like, you know, it's the mentality that a lot of us have. You're like, oh, but you know, it's expensive. Is it worth it? It is worth it.
They're studded, but there's also knobby tires.
Yeah, we have examples of different ones. So yeah, we mean there are different types. Yeah, studded obviously is going to be a lot. You know, when it's not wet, it's a lot more in your face.
This is great for ice.
Do they work well when there's no ice?
I never tried them. They make a lot of noise though.
Yeah.
If you're not into noise.
No, I mean maybe people are.
I don't know. Like if you can afford like 2 sets of cheap wheels, you can have like a set of wheels that constantly this on them. It's easier to switch a wheel than to switch a tire, especially when like the bike is all grimy, right?
So is that how you do it? You have different sets of
wheels?
That's my
dream.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, I think that's the thing is that not all of us are super, you know, we're all working as couriers, so we have that income. It's hard to have multiple sets of wheels
Yeah.
and then multiple
So
sets
this
of
is
tires.
another one. This is like Schwalbe CX Comp. There's also a Pro somewhere. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like
I can-
fit, tight clearances
So
most
these,
of the time.
yeah, these ones are not studded, obviously, but
Yeah.
they have definitely, they're not slicks either, so they have decent grip. Much more grip than I
Yeah.
ride with normally.
And this is a really popular option for a lot of people. They're like Schwalbe Marathons. They last forever. They're super grippy. They're heavy, but you're not racing anyway.
And what are the price points that we're looking at here?
Well, I think that this is like the CX Comp and Pro are around like 30, 40. These are a bit more expensive.
Oh, they're 58?
Oh yeah, so like not super expensive. There's also like if you're a uncompromising roadie, these are like 95. They're also like super grippy, light. But yeah, if like this is your thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's dependent on your disposable income. When I often, you know, again, like we said, we're all bunch of couriers here, so we have more or less money depending on how the work goes. But I've found over the years I've done it that, you know, you want to cheap out, you want to not spend much money. The option, like, you know, I can get this now, it'll be, you know, and then I still have money left over to go drink. It's sometimes better to spend the extra money because you also over the long run, you end up spending less money because it lasts longer. You do get what you pay for. So like, you know, this tire is a lot thicker than this one and is probably more likely to last, you know, probably last double or triple what this other one would. So it ends up making sense in the end.
Well, depending on your budget, right? But like tires do really make a difference. Like
Yeah, I would say, I mean, those are the things that come in contact with the road. And so, I mean, that's basically, that's the point of contact between your bike and the road. So that would be definitely the thing that makes the most difference.
one other thing is that like the bigger tires run on lower pressure, so there's more to cover, like they sit more tight on the road.
Well,
too.
it's more friction. Like there's more surface area.
Yeah. So you also like when it's like this, you want to lower your PSI on your tires.
Mm-hmm. Well, fat wheels, same as what we were saying about the PSI. The fat wheels will give you more contact, more surface contact, more surface area. So you'll definitely get more grip. But myself, I would probably still go with a thinner wheel. But it depends on what you prefer.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of people that ride fat wheels.
Even in the summer.
Yeah, even in the summer.
But
so,
the thing is, like, fat bikes are really popular now, which means that everything about them is expensive. Like, cycling is expensive because there are people with disposable income who are like into the thing that they can like ride their bike for like half a day,
yeah,
like, every week, and they have like enough money to buy all of this. Like, and the shops like this can't sell you cheap stuff because like the manufacturers don't make them cheap. They don't sell them cheap, right? And like Urbane like met us with like discounts here because they know that we don't make a lot of money. So that's like, but yeah. So I would say like if you have enough money for fat biking, yes, do it. Like that's great. That's like what you want for this,
Yeah.
but it is expensive.
It'll give you much more stability, 100%. You know, another thing that you have to take into consideration with tires too is you want that increased puncture resistance during the winter because the roads, you know, even though they're plowed, they're not cleared of debris that can puncture your tires as often. And I find that I tend to get more punctures in the winter than I do in the summer because underneath that kind of thin slushy layer on the road, there's all the things that normally would have been cleaned off the road by the road cleaners that don't come through in the winter. So that's something to think about as well.
Yeah, other thing is like ride slowly.
Yeah.
Especially if you're cycling a lot, like your mind kind of already knows where a pothole is. Like you've seen it like 10, 30 times, right? But like if you're in an unfamiliar area and it's all covered with snow and slush, you don't know where the pothole is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's better to like not gun it and
Yeah.
just like be careful.
Well, I find, there's certain streets that you go down so much that you have like almost a map of where the potholes are. Like you almost have memorized like the pothole map of the city. But there's some areas where you didn't. And especially when there's, like there was the last few days, there's fresh snow, the roads haven't been cleared out properly. You're going to have potholes that are hidden. And you won't know where they are. And then all of a sudden you'll be riding, and I've had it where I've been practically thrown off my bike by a pothole that I didn't anticipate. So it's definitely better. I mean, overall, it's better to just be safer. You don't need to risk it. Especially if you're a courier, you don't need to risk your life over a burger, over a pizza. It doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. Your life is worth more than that. So it's better to go slower and be safe than it is to go fast and potentially, injure yourself, where you won't be making any money at all.
A lot of shortcuts will not work anymore, right? Like you go through an alley, it's faster,
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. All of a sudden it's snow and like the alley is like one huge pothole. It's just like, there's no maintenance anymore.
No.
It's just like,
I don't know if you've ever gone down alleys where like somehow due to like the melt and the freeze, it ends up just being a sheet of ice. Like you definitely want to avoid, like they're cool shortcuts in the summer, but they're just like a recipe for disaster in the winter. Or you'll just go and it'll be like this really hard packed snow that you'll be shaking your way through.
yeah, and there's a speed bump all of a sudden.
Oh yeah,
that
and
you
then there's a
can't
speed
avoid.
bump you don't see, and it's one of those plastic ones that's just like, ugh. So yeah.
So, yeah, speaking of that, like there's also like not that much maintenance when it comes to bike lanes.
Yeah.
So take the lane. Like forget if there's like if the bike lane is packed, it doesn't exist anymore. Don't hug the curb. Like the cars are just gonna try and pass you.
Yeah, I agree. The bike lane ceased to exist. The city, that's like a big, if you want to see what the city really thinks about cycling, just look at how the bike lanes are in the winter. Like they'll have the little mini plow that clears them out, and then they just plow it over it with the big plow. And so like, even though it might look clear, in the middle, you'll hit like an intersection, and then there'll be this huge snowbank that you'll be stuck in. Yes.
So do you recommend just like not taking bike lanes
Yeah.
generally, like just avoid them?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can see, like, use your
yeah.
common sense. So you look at the bike lane, if it looks like it's more risk to your life to use a bike lane than to not use it, then don't use it. And like Drago was saying, like, take up the lane. If the more like, and actually this is a recommendation I would make in general. Like if you're sharing the space with cars, you don't have to go in the middle of the lane, but the more space you take up, you force that car to then pass you in a way that they would pass another car. Whereas when you're like stuck at the side and you put yourself on the edge, then that car just thinks they can drive right through, and they'll force you onto the curb, and then you're putting yourself more in danger. You're allowed. You're counted as a vehicle under the Highway Traffic Act. Yeah. So as a cyclist, you could potentially ride in any lane of the road in the middle of it. I mean, out of courtesy, we don't do it and also cars would probably have, one of them would eventually try to kill us because they're insane. But if it comes down to the situation where you riding in the middle of the lane, even for a short period of time, is safer than you riding on the edge, then it makes sense for you to ride in the middle of the lane. It's not, obviously you don't do it all the time. Yeah.
It's unfortunate that drivers don't know that that's actually a law, and that you're exercising your right to be like in traffic because you're part of the traffic.
I mean, you know what you're allowed to do, and if someone's honking at you, what is it going to do? Like they're saving 30 seconds to, go watch a show on TV. Like who cares? Or they're late, like that's their own fault. It's not our fault. It's not up to us to put ourselves in danger just because because of whatever situation they're in. So it's totally fine. And the more you assert yourself, cars actually respect it. And I find like I very rarely get honked at when you ride with confidence. And it's more likely when you're like more like and like kind of acting scared and act hesitant, that the cars will then think that they're allowed to bully you around. I mean, it sucks that the road is like that it's this kind of, survival of the fittest, mentality, but we all ride on it. We all know what it's like. And realistically, that's kind of the attitude you have to take, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's also like more likely for them to see you if you're in the middle of the road
Yes.
rather than like hugging the parked cars, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And also,
and doors.
always assume that the driver doesn't see you.
Yeah, I mean, and just going back on that, yeah, definitely assume that all drivers are idiots. And also, with regard to taking up the lane, it's the number one way to avoid getting doored. Like if you're too far away for a car to door you, then you'll never get doored. So that's like, it's never happened to me because I just give enough space that if a door opens, I don't get hit.
Right. Also, like if you're cycling in the dooring zone, you can always like look at the mirrors and see if like you can make eye contact if there's a driver in. Usually there's gonna be like some lights.
Yeah. Go at a speed, and actually, that fits into the winter riding. Go at a speed that you're able to stop. If any of you drive as well and you deal with winter driving or winter, rain, driving in the rain, it's the same principle. You don't want to go too fast that if something happens, you can't stop in time. It's better to ride slower, and then if anything just pops up, you're able to deal with it.
Yeah. And when it comes to like riding slowly, gear down. If you're like riding fixed, like buy a bigger cog. Mm-hmm. And it'll keep your temperature up also because you're like cycling more.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, this is the stupidest question I have.
Okay. Try us.
So you're biking along and you suddenly lose traction.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to?
It's a great question.
Or pedal forward?
It's an awesome question.
That is, yeah. We talked about that, and we forgot to mention it now. So that's good that you brought it up. I find that it's similar to driving. What I was taught when I was taught how to drive is that when you hit like ice or anything that will make you lose control, it's better to just coast and not react, not brake hard, not turn your wheel, because as soon as you start doing that, then that's when you lose control. If you just coast through, like coasting through snow, coasting over ice, you minimize the risk of falling over, because like as soon as, if you lose traction, obviously any movement of the wheel, any steering is just gonna result in you falling over. So you want to just like glide through, don't panic. You get used to it. I know it's hard, it's easier said than done, but I've only become used to it because of like having that feeling every now and then. And if there's other people here that are experienced, you'll hit that moment where you'll be like, and you just have to kind of glide through it and not be, not overreact. You know what? And the number one way to stay safe is that if you are looking at the conditions out there, or if you're working and it seems like it's just getting too messed up, it's too crazy, you don't have to work. You have the right as an employee to refuse work that you deem dangerous. Yeah. Obviously Uber, you're allowed to kind of hop in and out as you feel, as you like, but Foodora, especially with their shift system, there's kind of the implication that you got to work this certain set time. If it's too dangerous, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, if you see that like the cars are drifting around the road because they can't stop.
Visibility is so low, like there's just so many things, like roads aren't cleared. You're basically like going through several centimeters, inches of snow. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Good thing is like if you need money, you can't work, or you want to work but like you don't want to risk your life. Uber now has walk-in option, which is really good. You can just lock up your bike. Yeah. Take
you can be like switch to walk now. Yeah. That is a good thing. Yeah. Stay hydrated. When it's super cold, and even when it's rainy, because it's wet, you don't really feel like drinking cold water because it seems kind of like that's not going to help you stay warm. But it is really important to drink water and to stay hydrated because you're still sweating, you're still exerting yourself as much as you are during the summer.
My first winter riding, I was doing some research on like drinks that were good for when it was cold. And one of the things I found is that caffeinated drinks are actually bad
They're bad, yeah.
because they'll basically thin your blood.
Oh.
So if you like, let's say you have a coffee and then you go out riding, you might be awake, but you're gonna feel colder than if you had not had
Yeah.
the coffee.
They're also diuretics, so you're gonna have to pee more.
And then yeah.
So you'll have to drink more. Yeah.
So I've gotten
Yeah.
in the habit of trying to have less coffee and drink more tea when
Okay.
it's cold out, just because then you stay warm.
Using electric bikes in winter, is it safe or it's safer to use the regular bike?
That I from my own personal.
Bike is, you can control it more. That one go faster.
I don't have personal experience with electric bikes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like people use them. There's a guy who like swears by them. He builds his own actually, but like also it's a fat bike, electric bike.
And they'll probably be heavier, I imagine, electric bikes. So that would also give you more stability.
But also like when it's really cold, the battery is gonna deplete faster. So you're looking at like just an hour or two.
Yeah. So I guess it's in and out very quickly.
Safety, like going 35, meters per hour.
Well, by default, that's going to be more dangerous, for sure.
Right.
Because, I mean, having that higher speed means that, but I mean, I think you can as well still regulate the speed that you go on a electric bike. But yeah, definitely, if you're going, the faster you go on anything, the more likely if you have an accident, it's going to be worse.
Urbane does sell, they have like a pair of like tires that are specifically made for winter cycling on an electric bike. So you can ask.
I rode my
Yes.
bike yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, it went really well.
Okay.
Didn't slip at all, except when I wanted to, like slide a bit.
Yeah. Just for fun. You're like Tokyo. You're Tokyo drifting.
But I have very like knobby tires because it's a mountain bike.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I had no problems. And for the battery part, it does deplete a lot faster. But what a lot of people do, I've seen, they put like kind of like a nylon material around the battery before
Okay,
you
yeah.
put it in, so it keeps it warm and insulated.
Okay.
Right.
But other than the battery dying faster, and you gotta really clean like every part of it, especially the motor, because it can corrode a bit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, I guess is there more of a chance of mechanical issues?
For me, it's mostly the chain.
Okay.
Which is the biggest hit because the chain is like $180.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Made of gold.
Yeah.
Golden chain.
Yeah. But other than the chain, as long as like I would just pour like hot water into like one of those pesticide sprayers and spray it down so it gets all the ice and salt and crap off it. But other than that, like it works like a dream.